Imagine that you end up being betrayed by your wife, and this even makes you self-destruct. However, you go back to 10 years in the past, and in this way you will remake all your choices. In the fall of 2017, in a well-lit room, a man named Yen stood in front of a woman, sitting in an armchair. The woman, actively gesticulating, told him to withdraw 100,000, because his brother wants to buy a new car. Mu twisted his face in frustration, gritting his teeth in his hand. He held a sheet on which something was written. The man opened his eyes and looked down. He said he had no money. The woman immediately lost all composure, jumped out of her seat and started asking how it happened, why he had no money and where his salary was for this month. Unceremoniously, she began to put her hands in the man's pockets, reminding him that she had told him to go to some elderly people and ask for money. Mu only knew how to stay still, allowing her to do as she pleased. As soon as the pockets were turned inside out, they were empty. The woman, without thinking twice, slapped the man in the face. She started scolding him again, calling him trash and asking where the money was, where he hid it, and asked him to show it to her immediately. Yam only knew how to laugh, saying it was only about money. A glass of water that was on the table and she threw it. The man was apparently stunned by it, jumping out of his head. The glass fell to the ground and broke. The remains were scattered in different directions. The woman continued to show her dissatisfaction with the fact that Yam, who in her opinion was a loser, could also smile in such a situation. He kept his head down, and with a mark from a recent blow was visible on his cheek, he laughed and said he was a loser who had no money. It seems that after everything that happened, his patience came to an end. Now he started screaming. He paid for everything, starting with this woman's car, ending with his brother's wedding. He said that even if he earned 100 million a month, it still wouldn't be enough for his family. The woman asked Mu the amount he had mentioned with displeasure, and then asked if he considered his family to be his family as well. He started laughing again, closing his eyes. The red liquid ran from his head down his face because the glass had already flown into him. He was amused by this woman's words about family, shouted that he had had enough of such relatives, so she should go to hell with them. The woman replied that if Young was fed up with all this, then he could just take his life, ending it all. Young explained that it was a great idea and asked if she really thought he couldn't actually do it. In fact, the woman asked him if he really wanted to go base, and said it was a good idea but he should wait until she bought accident insurance and then his departure would pay for itself. Smiling, Yam looked at Faniatsa, saying that everything was fine, and also noting how cruel she was. The man ran away, and over the woman's loud scream, ran to the window. He flew past her, falling. At this moment, Yam was thinking that the end of his life had come. On the piece of paper he had been holding in his hand all this time was written, "At the conclusion of the hospital's stomach cancer last stage, early July 2009, 5 people were in the room. 4 of them were comfortably seated on the couch, and 1 was kneeling in front of the couch." A woman with a short haircut asked why he suddenly knelt down. The blonde man sitting in the corner of the couch laughed, and commented that it was probably a tradition for this person's family to kneel after entering the room. Yam was on his knees and wanted to say something, but suddenly the realization came to him. He found out what position he was in. He's on his knees in front of these people, but most importantly, he is still alive. The woman crossed her arms over her chest. Commenting on Yam's words and also asking him not to make a fool of himself, Mu raised his head and addressed this woman, calling her mother. She just asked in response, who he called mommy here. He has to add 400,000 to the bride's price, and only after that will he have the right to call her that. Yam was taken by surprise. She said of the rescue. Now he realized he had gone back 8 years. It was then 8 years ago that he proposed to Yatsu. The woman continued to insist that Yen will add 400,000 to the ransom, and there is nothing to think about getting up from her knees. Yam could resolutely say that she had already thought of everything now. All his thoughts were about the fact that in his previous life he had fallen into the sucking fans family. The smiling guy agreed, very happy with the news. His face immediately began to look kinder. She asked if he agreed with her condition. However, Mu shouted that he didn't agree. He was thinking that now he could start all over again. So this time, he would never make the same mistake he had made earlier. The woman jumped out of her seat and asked him what he had just said. Did he really think that his daughter was not worth $1 million? He asked the woman if she had any hearing or head problems, and then explained he wouldn't pay a dime for the bride. Now the bride herself intervened. She also got up from her seat and started asking how Mu could do this to her. Yaksa looked upset and confused. She said it wasn't easy for her parents to raise her, so it's worth paying them a bride price. He asked what Yaku would give him. In this case, a losing brother who just needs money. The brother was not at all pleased with these words addressed to him. Now he jumped out of his seat in a rage, asking who Mu had just dared to call a loser. Yam was still calm. He indifferently told the guy that he was a complete one who couldn't do anything. The losing brother of the bride punched the one who just insulted him. But Mu was no longer going to hit back and swear in the same way as before. He deftly dodged the impending blow, grabbed the guy by the head, leaning him to the ground with him. The mother of the family screamed, and told him to immediately let him out because he is his brother, a member of the family? Mu asked again. A family member has not yet had a marriage, which means that left is not your brother, and is not a member of your family. The guy stood up and firmly stated that from now on he didn't want to have anything to do with the Fan family. Yatsu turned to Yam asking him if their relationship was worth the money. The boy asked her if she had ever thought about how hard her parents had to work to win 500,000 in her previous life in the name of the ransom money. Her father despaired and bought a lottery ticket and unexpectedly won 500,000 and then had a nervous breakdown. Because of that money, the last thing he said when he left this family was that they needed the money cow, not him. Already on the street, he approached the building where there was a signed Social Security lottery. The ad text he was reading said that the lottery's first prize totals 100 million. He thought it was a very good start to the lottery. He also thought that at that time the first prize in his father's number was 100 million. For various reasons, this series of numbers was etched in his memory. He knew. He went in to buy a lottery ticket. The man at the cashier who handed the ticket to the boy said that the lottery draw would be held tonight at 9:50. On the street, we suddenly saw his father walking nearby. His father, rubbing his eyes, asked himself if he saw Mu now. He didn't go to the family today. Maybe it looked like Mu was watching his father. It was lunchtime. Now the boy assumed that his father had had a bad lunch. Once again, he watched the old man sadly on the other side of the corner. The father passing by said that if he won, he wouldn't have to worry about the bride price for his son. He hoped for God's help, and I believe that this time he must be lucky. Moon decided that from that day on, he would no longer let his father and mother suffer. Suddenly, Yam received some kind of congratulatory notification. He was congratulated on the successful binding of the Moon's Eye God system. The task of the beginner is to get 100 million assets and own his own company. The task completion time is limited to 24 hours. There are 21 hours left until the end of the task. The system asked to take this task seriously, otherwise, Yen, whose life would be lost in total, he had a life point confused and who didn't understand what was happening. The system said that he had only 21 hours to live. This is real. He has just been reborn. On the arm now was the same mark, the Eye of the Moon. Suddenly, Mu heard someone's voice. His owner would ask what was going on, and demand that someone take his hands off. Mu knew. He recognized the person to whom this voice belonged and was surprised, because it really is a man. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for the next part. Let's crush our 100 like goal. Your support keeps this going. If you want the next part, type next part in the comments.